Dear brothers and sisters, I welcome you all to hear and see this video message. In this video, I am going to explain secularism of social fabric in peril on India by cow politics by Hindutva and BJP government. Content for this video I given in the description. You can go through and study. India's secular idea rests on the foundational principle that India belongs equally to people of diverse faith and belief system, cultures and languages. It prohibits the religious, cultural, legal or moral dominance of any one religion or culture over any other. Unlike many European countries that requires residents from distinct culture and faith system to observe and adapt themselves to the dominant language, culture and practices of the country, the essential secular idea of the India does not require any kind of conformity of faith, culture, diet, dress or language to qualify as a fully equal Indian citizen. But campaigns against cow slaughter that we witness are not about love for the cow but hate for fellow Indians, particularly Muslims and Dalits. BJP Minister Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi asks Muslims who wish to eat beef to go to Pakistan. BJP conflate sections of upper-caste Hindu religious belief with Indian culture and challenge the rights of Muslims who live in India and indeed Dalits, tribal people and Christians to act in ways that differ from practices and beliefs and sentiments of upper-caste Hindus. If this alternative social contract between diverse people living in India is accepted, this would accomplish two objectives of Hindu nationalists. First, it would effectively reduce non-Hindus, Dalits and tribal people to second-class citizens who would be allowed by the Hindu majority community to live in India only on the condition they respect the legitimate domination of upper caste and militants, Hindu religious and cultural beliefs. And second, it would destroy the secular idea of India. Organizations of Sangh Parivar use the issue of cow slaughter not only to underline difference but to actively promote hate against Muslims for political benefit to the BJP. Two issues today most effectively utilized to diminish Muslims. One is love jihad, or the fanciful idea that Muslim boys are trained to sexually attract Hindu girls and trap them into marriage, conversion and producing Muslim progeny. The second is the belief that Muslims continue to kill cows, trade in cow meat and eat beef in disregard, defiance or outrage Hindu sentiment. Together, these two ideas transform their Muslim neighbors into hateful and hated others. The cow holds a sacrosanct place in Hindu scripture. A source of milk, the creature symbolizes strength, abundance and materialism, while the popular Hindu deity Krishna is typically depicted tending to cows. The cow reverence deeply wired into the Indian psyche. Attitude toward the animal have become intertwined with nationalism, and for BJP it's been held as a badge of Hindu identity. By extreme end, right-wing Hindu groups like the Vishwa Hindu Parishat pushed the NDA government to develop a ministry specifically for cow production. Modi ji's victory seemingly empowered religious ideologies to reassert India's Hinduness. One of the reasons beef has become a political issue is also because the cow vigilantes form the support base of Bharatiya Janata Party. Since BJP assumed power, we witnessed a concerted war on attrition waged in alleyways around the country against the secular lived tradition of peaceful living together of people of diverse faith and cultures. RSS-driven BJP government may not ultimately change the language of secular guarantees in our constitution, but by imposing their interpretation of what constitutes Hindu culture, declaring that this version of Hindu culture is indeed Indian culture, and then demanding that minorities submit to that imposed majoritarian culture, They are reducing minorities to fearful second-class citizens. Mostly culpably, they are eroding the constitutional guarantees of fraternity. Day after, he said that social divisions affect the trajectory of development. Chief Economic Advisor Arvind Subramaniam declined to answer a question on the beef ban controversy, saying he did not want to lose my job. In March 2016, he delivered a lecture in Bangalore. He had said that how a country deals with its social divisions play a major role in the trajectory of its economic development. He was asked if the beef ban would have any adverse impact on farmers' income or on the rural economy. His reply was met with a round of applause. You know that I am answer this question, I will lose my job. But thank you nevertheless for asking the question, he said while interacting with students of economics at the Mumbai University. Hindutva forces terming those who slaughter cows as the country's biggest enemies. Uttarakhand Chief Minister Haris Rawat on November 2015 said they had no right to live in the country. Anyone who kills cows, no matter which community he belongs to, is India's biggest enemy and has no right to live in the country. Rawat said, addressing a function on the occasion of Gobastami. Law will deal sternly with those who kill cows in Uttarakhand, and the state government will do everything for cow conservation. The CM said, a minister in the Haryana government is running an opinion poll to replace the tiger with a cow as national animal. When cabinet ministers or members of parliament belonging to the ruling party make inflammatory statements which have direct consequences in inciting violence against the Muslim community, the sender has everything to do with it. Removing them from their post would, for example, have an immediate and salutary impact in preventing others from making such statements, but this is not the preferred path because of the larger, more fundamental agenda of the Hindutva forces of polarizing India and religious lines. Banning the slaughter of cows and their progeny across India has become the most sensitive of all the topics on the sovereign agenda. It is also the easiest issue on which to fan religious sentiments in our agrarian nation, where bovines are in abundance, particularly by singling out Muslims as cow killers. BJP gets benefit from polarization by decisive politics. They pick up issues which are destructive and disruptive for our national integration. This is not an issue of widespread concern for the holy animal, it's about scoring political points. BJP is not clear of its economic and political priorities. About 1/5 of UP Uttar Pradesh communal incidents are cow-related reported communal incidents in Uttar Pradesh 2010 April 2016. From vandalizing to cow slaughter, cow has proved to be an easy ruse for triggering communal incidents that drive a deeper wedge between Hindus and Muslims in the state. Every act of vandalism has taken on added significance, from desecrated holy text to beef or fork being thrown onto the premises of temple and mosques respectively. Many of the incidents were sparked by mundane arguments that suddenly turned violent. Others were set off by deliberate acts of desecration of holy books, idols, mosques and temples. Cows were a singular flashpoint. Gardening religious lines served of another category. Love Jihad, a charged term that accused Muslim men of luring and dishonoring innocent Hindu girls. It included everything from consensual elopement to allegation of stalking and rape. Love Jihad is a poji raised with election in mind because the right-wingers feel it can draw sharper lines between Hindus and Muslims. In India, Muslims are victims of sovereign India according to the BJP Hindu nationalism. Political parties like BJP have benefited from consolidating votes along religious lines. Hindu chauvinism and suspicion of Muslims helps consolidate Hindu votes that could otherwise be split along caste or regional lines. In a casteist India, only religious identity can overwhelm caste identity. Intimidation and violence by co-vigilantes has created an ambience in which local authorities, especially the police, have taken to extorting money from those engaged in the meat trade, particularly Muslims and Dalits, especially the Quraysh group, a minority group in Muslim. It is ironic that Muslims have been the sole target of the proponent of the anti-cow slaughter movement from its inception in the late 19th century. As such, a large number of communities in India consume beef in India, Christians, Dalits groups in the northeast among them. There was a religious argument that the cow should not be slaughtered because it was an object of veneration among the Hindus. Hindus also consider the cow holy because of the many economic benefits accruing from it. Yet, in many senses, the economic argument was merely an attempt to dress the religious sentiment in the garb of rationality. The more exuberant members of the Hindu rights not only wanted the constitution to explicitly ban cow slaughter but also have such a provision to be incorporated in its chapter on the fundamental rights. During the Khilafat movement of 1919, the Hindu right offered their support to Muslim leaders in return for them supporting the ban on cow slaughter. Ban has also stoked suspicion that Muslims are slaughtering cattle clandestinely, leading to police cases being filed against them. The cow protectionists will never forego the weapons of rumor about beef eating because it can be telling used to foment hatred against Muslims and to paper over caste divisions among Hindus, that poorest of Indians. Since Modi ji taking his oath to office in 2014, he has introduced several good programs like the Swachh Bharat campaign, the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana and the Adal Pension Yojana, to name a few, for the development. However, the ride has not been smooth. There have been several road bumps in the form of the RSS-backed Hindutva brigade, certain bans and rise of sadhus and babas. The Garvapsi campaign, Garvapsi became the household praise when Hindutva hot gets backed by the Vishwa Hindu Parishad and the RSS went on to convert poor non-Hindus to Hinduism. With no action from the government, leaders of sovereign parties claimed that such a thing was constitutional, while the opposition and liberals heavily criticized the Prime Minister. Vishwa Hindu Parishad leader Praveen Togodia defended Garvapsi, saying, since the Supreme Court has observed that Hinduism is not a religion but way of life, Garvapsi cannot be termed as unconstitutional. The beef ban in Maharashtra. Meat lovers in the state were left heartbroken and beef starved when Maharashtra BJP government, backed by the NDA at the center, brought a ban on slaughtering of cows, pulse and buffaloes. Consuming or even possession of beef is now a crime in Maharashtra in a bid to protect the Gaumada. The rise of Sattvis, Sadhus and Babas. All sort of saffron-clad Sattvis and Sadhus tumbled out of the woodwork after Prime Minister Modi come back to power, and they have done no good for the government image. Even as the government tried to keep the focus on its development agenda, these right-wing Hindutva-vadis left no stone unturned to get their 15 minutes of fame on news channels and made controversial and ludicrous statements one after another. Attacks on churches. The low tolerance of Hindutva brigade towards other religions is well known, but India saw its ugly side repeatedly after the Modi-led BJP came to power. There were repeated attacks on churches across the country, included in Delhi several times in 2014, in Mangalore in February 2015, and the attack on Navi Mumbai St. Sebastian Church in March 2015. The worst was the gang rape of 71-year-old nun in West Bengal's Nadia district. This incident saw harsh criticism towards the Modi government from all sections of society, but the government has maintained a distance from the issues and written off anti-minority theories as hokum. Some Hindu hardliners insist the idea of eating beef was introduced by Muslim invaders despite reference to its consumption in ancient texts like the Vedas, written more than a millennium before the time of Muhammad. By eradicating this alien practice, they hope to return the control to values they hold dear as Hindus. On one side are those who want India to be a secular nation with great diversity of cultures and religions, where people live peacefully while pursuing different beliefs and lifestyles. And the other are those who insist India must be an overtly Hindu nation with a predominantly Hindi character, where Hindu sentiments such as those concerning the cow must take precedence over the preference of the minorities. Before politicians started to polarize and divide Indians in order to win votes from certain communities, the state of affairs was largely being ignored and each to his own attitude prevailed. But the country is in the midst of culture war. At stake is the very idea of India. It has always been part of the BJP agenda to assert Hindu cultural hegemony. If the government imposed a blanket ban on beef, could Indian Muslims demand a ban on pork and alcohol, which are abhorrent to them? If every religious group in India were allowed to impose its food diktas and others, including the Jains who would want even root vegetables banned because in pulling them out of earth insects could be killed. Indians might too be left eating cake also. If tomorrow right wings say don't kill rats since it is the vehicle of Ganapati, or don't kill snakes, it is a Vishnu bed, or it's Shiva's ornament, do you think central government will ban that? Muslims don't eat pork. Why not ban this? Jains don't eat even potatoes. Why not ban that? Fish was God's Vishnu's avatar. Why not ban that? Above all, alcohol is prohibited in both Hindus and Muslim religions. Why not ban this first? People consuming such things are in majority. That's what makes a good vote bank. If the purpose of rules was to prevent cruelty to animals, why restrict only to cattle? What about chicken? What about pigs? What about buffalo? However, I believe this is the central government maneuver to reinstill its image as a pro-Hindutva party for their upcoming elections. So this is just to win next election and to remain in power to future. BJP believes in the power of communalism. It divided India into two countries back 1947. Politicians play based on the state level culture, tradition, etc. If a particular party, BJP or community Brahmins does not like to eat beef, let them abstain. Ban on cattle slaughter is purely vote bank politics, nothing else, and a move to cover up real issues and fool majority public by racking up unnecessary controversies. Why this NDA government not ask its own BJP ruled states in northeastern or Goa to ban beef, because they will lose power there. So this is merely opportunistic and hypocritic based politics. Still date India was ruled based on caste. Now the new division is emotions, mostly religions. Indian civilization has evolved over the centuries to include multiple diverse communities with complete combating interest. Despite its secular constitution, India remains strikingly unequal. The government must make every effort to balance majority sentiments with minority needs. Imposing ideals from a mythic past is not the answer. The true lesson to take away from history is how utilitarian goals can shape religious custom. Hinduism has always been a pragmatic religion. What today's India needs is accommodation. Bible talks about this to BJP government in Exodus chapter 23 verse 2. you, that is BJP government, are not to follow the majority. Hindutva majoritarian and doing wrong, that is house selector ban, and you are not to testify in a lawsuit so as to follow the majority and pervert justice, that is against minorities and Dalits in India. Amen.